And we are live. Welcome back, everybody. What a crazy day it's been for crypto. What a crazy day it's been for Bitcoin. Let's dive into it. So, the movement we're seeing in Bitcoin is no surprise. Finally closing above that $70,000 mark on the day. It's attempted to do so several times, but as you guys know, I've been telling you we are going to get that $70 push. Structure was looking very, very good. Everything was looking clean. It was just a matter of time. Now, here's the thing. Because Bitcoin attempted to cross above that $70,000 mark and failed 3 times, that final push, that is a big move. That is definitely a big move. When you see that, when you see price attempt to break above a certain level, get rejected and fail so many times, and then finally achieve that goal, what has happened is you would have liquidated so many positions and a lot of people would have flipped to the long side, and that just gives further jet fuel for price. So that's one thing you want to be aware of. But if you are an accumulator of Bitcoin like myself, so that is you are looking to build a respectable position in Bitcoin, one that is very lucrative, one that will make you very well off, you might be asking yourself, should you be buying here at this price? Because you might not have any position in Bitcoin. A lot of people don't. You would have seen it at 61,000. You'd have been waiting for a pullback in price. You saw it at 65, then you saw it at 69, and now you're seeing it at 72 and you're getting the sweats. But it's okay. You can buy it here at 72,000 if you don't have a position already, you can get one started. The reason why it doesn't matter is because when you get that pullback in price at some point eventually, and you most definitely will, you'll just buy again because you're on a regular buying system. So if you're buying here on the 11th, you're going to buy next month on the 11th as well, regardless of where price is. So you're detached from the fluctuations and the all-time high news. It doesn't matter. So 72,000 you can buy because you have a long-term plan, you have a long-term system in place. You're going to be buying above the average, below the average over time, and you're going to build a very lucrative position. Now, for those of you who are one and dones, those that want to put in $100 into Bitcoin and then make $103 in 4 years time, this probably isn't the best place for you. We have got that halving event coming up next month, and that most certainly will bring volatility. It most certainly will open up opportunities at the front end or the back end of the halving event taking place next month. You guys, you probably want to be looking towards the high 50s, right? That 57 mark if you're a one and done person and you want to make $3 on Bitcoin. That's fine. Now, if you're a trader, also like myself, Bitcoin is opening up really good opportunities right now. You want to be looking at that $69 mark as a start. You get a pullback into $69, that opens up a pretty decent position for a trade, okay, a short-term trade. Speaking of trades, I just closed out of one today. I want to share with you guys someone who's in the Discord who took that same trade and made $4,000 or pounds, whatever it is, on that same trade, right? So that is a very respectable number. That's a fantastic way to start the week. Hope he doesn't mind me sharing this with you guys, but that is a very, very good amount of profits to make on one single trade. So if you want to get in on my trades, trade with me, just hit the link in the video description after the live stream, join the Discord. I want to give you a little bit of additional insight into what is going on with price right now, because if you see this yellow, well, it's a white sloping line, you can see that we've got some pretty decent wicks into that line, 3 wicks exactly. So what's happening is we're building liquidity at these points, okay? We're building liquidity at each of these points. And what that means is the market is going to take these positions out of their trades at some point in time. So you want to be aware that the market will target all of these traders that got in, meaning price will inevitably come back to that point at some point in time, and a very likely time for that to happen will be the halving event taking place next month. So yes, price does look good, price looks strong, but bear in mind, once we hit that liquidity event, once we get that sell off, all of these guys are going to be taken out of their position, no problem. And price is very likely to come to that $63 mark. So I expect at the front end of the halving event taking place next month, so April 16, so early April, I do expect price to come to this $63 range. Take these people out of their trades, move a little bit sideways, and then move up and set new all-time high. So that's something to be aware of. Question is though, how high can we get before the halving event, which is taking place next month? I believe we can see a maximum of an 8 handle, all right? So a maximum of the 80,000. It's not going to get to 90,000 before the halving event. It might even struggle to get to 80,000, but the low 80s is the maximum that I would see entering into that halving event, based on how we're looking and based on what's happening underneath the surface when it comes to Bitcoin. All right, so highest we're going to see is an 80 handle, as an 8 handle, so low 80s, high 70s. That's the expectation for the month. Right, so Michael Saylor, this is a big guy in the Bitcoin industry, right? I believe he's the person through his company who single-handedly owns the most amount of Bitcoin, but he went ahead and acquired an additional 12,000 Bitcoin for 820 million. Okay, that is a big number. Now, a lot of you might be thinking, wow, 820 million? Damn, that's a lot of money to be putting into Bitcoin, right? At 68,000, by the way, so not far away from where we were. 850 million, but that's not the exciting thing. You might be thinking 850 million. I'm thinking, damn, this guy now owns 1% of the entire supply of Bitcoin. So I'm thinking, how much does he own and what does he want to do with it? That's the key thing, because owning 1% and a growing 1% stake, given he's a big player in the accumulation space, this is a guy who is a thoroughbred Bitcoin maximalist, right? This is a guy who wants to own Bitcoin literally forever. So that's 1% of the supply of Bitcoin taken out of the market, 1% and growing. And you've got a lot of other players in the space who have the same type of approach. They're buying with the aim of taking the supply off the market. That's the crazy thing here. And the fact that he's gone ahead and bought it at 68,000 just shows his true conviction in Bitcoin to put that much in at basically what was an all-time high. Okay, because 68,000 is going to look very, very cheap when Bitcoin is 100,000. It's going to look even more cheap when Bitcoin is 150,000. Did he buy Bitcoin at the lowest price he could have? No. Bitcoin will definitely drop below 68,000 at some point in time, and it's very likely to do so around that halving event. But it doesn't matter. He's got his strategy in place, and if he just continues to hold, he's going to be in profit. So that is a big move, and that's a big signal to the market. A lot of the market is going to be looking at his move, watching his moves, and thinking, this guy has given me confidence to buy at what seems to be elevated levels. But in the bigger context, the wider context of things, it's not, because Bitcoin is inevitably going to cross above $100,000. Check this out. So a lot of people will be looking at Bitcoin right now at $72,000 and thinking that the whole world is going long. The whole world is expecting Bitcoin to move higher. That is simply not the case. We still have far too many short positions in Bitcoin right now. As a matter of fact, if Bitcoin was to get to $75,000, we would see a liquidation of 1.6 billion. Okay, 1.6 billion would be wiped. And that is because of the short positions, the short futures trades that are at 75,000. So why is this interesting? It's interesting because even though we've seen this move in Bitcoin to 72,000, it is not done yet. It still has room to go higher in the short term. This is because the market is engineered to create maximum pain, meaning when there are too many positions on one side of the trade, the market will take them out. And this is what's happening right now. You've got far too many short positions at that $75,000 mark. And whoever is in short positions at 75,000 is absolutely crazy. Okay. It's wild to be short on Bitcoin at these levels. I don't know what they're smoking, but it's something strong. So the market will, in the short term, most definitely take out that $75,000, liquidating 1.6 billion in positions on these exchanges. That most definitely will happen. One of the reasons why I say that we'll go into the halving event at a maximum of an 8 handle, and we are not going to get to 90,000 and 100,000 before the halving event, is because we simply just don't have enough short positions at those elevated levels. Okay, so the market wants to create max pain. It will have achieved this goal once it gets to 75,000, around that level. Now you should already know that we have the Bitcoin spot ETF in the US, and it's doing very, very well. Billions and billions of inflows, and that is what is supporting Bitcoin right now. We're being supported by the institutions that are funneling money into the Bitcoin ETFs, and it's just getting started. Like, the majority of their clients haven't yet onboarded with Bitcoin. They haven't yet put in place that strategy of converting some of their investments or putting additional cash through the way of these spot ETFs. There's still more to go. So there's still tons of Bitcoin that BlackRock's going to continue to buy up, and they bought up a whole heap today, even at the all-time high levels. But here's the thing. The spot ETF has been a game changer for Bitcoin. Yes, it's allowed a whole new pool of investors to come into Bitcoin, but the ETF isn't global. It's available in the US, it's available in Brazil, but it's not available to the east side of the world, right? So those in the UK, those in Asia, Hong Kong, etc., UAE, can't access the spot ETF. They don't have a way to essentially buy Bitcoin on the stock market unless they want to go through MicroStrategy. But a lot of people aren't going to want to do that. They just want to hold the underlying asset, get direct access to Bitcoin that way, rather than going through all these other kind of backdoor ways, right? They want to just go through a spot ETF, direct access. That's what they want. In London, in the UK, we don't have the spot ETF, but there is development towards adopting crypto style assets, crypto style investment vehicles on the stock exchange. So the London Stock Exchange is set to accept Bitcoin and Ethereum ETNs. So these are ETNs, exchange traded notes, which are different from exchange traded funds, which is what the spot ETF is. So the notes are basically like a debt that you can buy on the stock market, and basically you'll be given Bitcoin-like returns for entering into that investment vehicle. It's good in the sense that it's a step forward in the right direction of this global adoption of Bitcoin, which we're not yet there, which is an exciting catalyst in itself. But it's a step in the right direction for the UK to start getting involved and start giving institutions access to Bitcoin. Now, it's nowhere near as good as a spot ETF, okay? Because a spot ETF they're buying Bitcoin, and so BlackRock and Fidelity and all these asset managers, they'll be buying Bitcoin and just storing it, right? Taking it off, taking supply away from the market, and they're doing it in massive amounts. But the ETNs, they're not actually buying the Bitcoins, okay? They're not buying the Bitcoins, but you are given Bitcoin-like returns through the ETN. So it's a different structure. It's definitely not as good as an ETF, but it is a step in the right direction. It shows that we're making moves to that global adoption and utilization of Bitcoin. The UK is very slow, snail pace, years behind the rest of the world in terms of the use of crypto and the access of crypto, but it'll eventually get there, right? You've got places like the UAE as well that are far behind, Asia far behind, but all of that is just a catalyst. Because when all the pools are open, right? So imagine like a world map, and you've got Bitcoin in the middle, and you've got like direct access pools just coming in from every angle, which we don't have now because there is like a circulation cutoff from certain countries like the UK, like the UAE, like Asia. But when all of those taps are open, that's just a massive catalyst for Bitcoin in itself. And you're going to get phenomenal flows in, because by that time we'll probably be in the next cycle and the new supply will be even less than it is right now, and all of these things just compound themselves. Now you're in an extreme supply situation versus what we are in today. So that is just a step in the right direction from the snails in the rest of the world like the UK. Let me remind you of where we are, because even though we hit the all-time high level today, 72,000, which is amazing, creeping up to 73,000, we're still at the start line of this bull run, okay? If you look at this chart, you can see the cycles, you can see how predictable they are, you can see how repeatable they are. And a lot of this is driven by the halving events dictating when the bull market is going to start. And you can see that we've just started this bull run. We are right at the start. So 72,000 in the grand scheme of things isn't a big number given the projected direction of where Bitcoin is going. And it is going to that $100,000 mark, and then that 150,000, and then that 200,000. Okay, all of that will happen in this cycle and probably seep through into next cycle as well. So it's still very early stages in the bull run that we are currently going to be going into, and that is going to last the entire year into 2025. Okay, so still very early when it comes to where we are in the grand scheme of things of Bitcoin. Still just getting started. One thing you guys need to realize is this bull run that we're currently in is the most hated bull run that we've probably ever seen for Bitcoin. Why that is, probably because the last bull run just induced so many retail traders and retail participants, and they just weren't ready for that shock effect of the end of the bull run. that's probably why that is the case. That's probably why you've got still, I think I gave you guys that stat in live stream a couple of days ago, like 130 billion in stable coin that is just sitting in exchanges that hasn't yet hit the crypto market, right? Hasn't yet hit the Bitcoins, hasn't yet hit Ethereum. And now that we're slowly starting that FOMO event that I've been giving you the heads up about for the last couple of weeks, breaking through into that all-time highs, and you get people sweating that they didn't buy this at lower prices, you're going to start to see a release of that idle cash just sitting in exchanges, creating a much bigger, a much more exaggerated move in Bitcoin. And you're still going to get a lot of people who are just not participating. The easiest way to participate is just to build an accumulation strategy, which is very, very easy. Pick a day in the month, every day of the month, that's when you're buying into Bitcoin. It's as simple as that. And obviously, if you take it to the next level, there is the opportunity to go ahead and trade Bitcoin, because it is a very tradable asset, as I've shown you and as I've explained to you. But things are looking very, very good. Now, the world is watching Bitcoin, right? The world is watching, and the spot ETF has really put Bitcoin on the map. It really has grabbed the attention of a much broader audience and much more participation. And my expectation is there is a lot of articles, there is a lot of movement, there is a lot of progress made with the ETFs, but we are also going to see improved utilization of Bitcoin as well. So my expectation is you are going to get some big retailers or some big institutions that are participating and taking on Bitcoin and adopting Bitcoin. That's something we haven't heard much of this year, but given the fact that we've seen so much attention on Bitcoin and a whole new participant come into the scene, that is my expectation. Some more retailers, some more companies out there that do adopt Bitcoin. And again, that's just another massive catalyst, because we want to get to that point where we have global utilization. Global utilization will just mean that this is now an asset class just seen in a completely different light than it's ever seen before. That's already taken place this year, but it's still not at levels which it can get to, and it will most definitely get to those types of levels. So guys, that was the live stream for today, and drop me down some comments below, and I'll be back tomorrow.